Hello, everyone. Norman.
Hello. How are you?
How are you?
Yeah, we carry on.
Baruch Hashem. Is everyone well? How is...
My brother is not well. My brother Levy is not well.
Oy. Give me his name. What is his name? Yehuda Lev ben Sheina Rivka, nachon?
Correct. Maya Chus.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
What happened? What did they...
It's a long story. It's a long story.
And tell me, and Errol, how's Errol doing?
God, Errol is doing well. Thank God.
Yeah. Baruch Hashem. I'm so happy to hear that. Okay. So Errol is well, Baruch Hashem. Okay.
And he's going to get surgeon again in 3 months to a checkup. And
yes.
Anything else, but so far he's fine. We just carry on that way.
Baruch Hashem. Okay, we're davening for him, Israel Ben Zisa. Okay. I see that Mark with us. Hello, Marky.
Hi, Rob.
How are you? Who else with us? I see Sean with us. There's a dot. Who's the other dot? I don't know who's the dot. Who's else with us?
I'll tell you who could be.
I see Mark and I see Sean. I see Lionel trying to connect. Lionel. And there's another person. I don't know who is it.
It's the dot here. It's one of these.
Where's Louis?
Louis, I don't know. You know, we don't have I don't have a parfait. I don't know where's everyone. Maybe they're ticking, but I sent a message again earlier that because there's no load shedding, we're going to have, because I see many people actually didn't read the message, maybe, because I see that it's very schwach so far. Because I said there's no load shedding, the show will be at 8 o'clock. I sent it at 7 o'clock, I think, no?
Yeah, you did read it.
Yeah, about 7 you sent it, just before.
Yeah. So it's at least an hour to give it people a chance. Anyway, look. We're going to start the show. We're going to continue with the show. I see that Orna joining us. Okay, I admitted her. But let's start the show. Bezrat Hashem, na'aseh v'natzliach, v'Hashem alenu berachamav yarviach. I would like to dedicate the show in honor of Esther Kaden Bat Ketia, Mordechai ben Rahma, Harav Avraham Chaim ben Eliezer Yaakov, Tamar Bat Zehava, Rachel Bat Malka Sultana, Yaakov Salomon ben Farha, Dvorah Ruth Bat Beila, Vechaim Eliyahu ben Yeshayahu. Please God that the show will uplift their soul up in heaven. And now I would like to dedicate the show in the health of Liora Bat Miriam, Menashe Naji ben Farha, Orna Bluma Bat Miriam, Harav Avraham ben Marina, Harav Shlomo Yehuda ben Dalia, Harav Moshe ben Devorah, Eitan ben Hadassah, Israel ben Zisa, Mordechai, David ben Leah, Yosef ben Esther, Dvorah bat Esther, Sarah Dvorah bat Elka, Tzadok ben Sarah, Shulamit bat Chaya Sheina Leah, Aryeh ben Gitol, Yehuda Lev ben Sheina Rivka, ורivka, Sarah Rivka bat Yehudit, ודוד Yitzhak ben Chava Leah. Please God, רפואה שלמה to all of them. So, בעזרת השם, נעשה ונצליח, והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. Mark, do you have the art scroll next to you? Because I see that.
I'll get
Sorry? One. Okay, because I see that Louis not with us. So we're going to start actually. So you're going to read for us. You're going to go back
I'll
to
go and get one. I'll be in half a minute.
No problem. In the meantime, we just going to start doing the introduction for Parashat Chayei. Tonight we're going to read This coming Shabbos, we're going to speak and we're going to read Parashat Chayei Sarah. So at the beginning of the Parsha, the Torah speak about the death of Sarah Imenu, as you all know, Chayei Sarah. And it happened that Sarah Imenu died in the age of 127. She died in the year 2085 from the creation. That's when Sarah Imenu died. After that, in the same year, now I'm speaking about the same year, we know that Rivka Imenu born. Rivka Imenu born to her father Betuel. That's well known because it's in the Torah. But who was her mother? Her mother's name was Dvorah. Remember Rivka Imenu, the wife of Yitzhak Avinu. Her mother was Dvorah. After that, the Torah tells us something very interesting. The Torah tells us that Avraham Avinu actually bought Ma'arat HaMachpelah from Ephron, and he paid 400 shekel. We'll speak about what is the number, what is the 400 representing, the number 400. After that, the Torah tells us something very interesting, that Avraham Avinu buried Sarah Imenu in Ma'arat HaMachpelah. Why dafka Ma'arat HaMachpelah? That's the question that we have to ask. And Be'ezrat Hashem will speak about it also in the show. Then Avraham Avinu sent his servant Eliezer. He sent them to Aram Naharaim to find a wife to his son Yitzhak Avinu. We know that Eliezer, Eved Avraham, that was the servant, he gone to Aram Naharaim and he met Rivka Imenu on a well. Who else met on a well? We know that Moshe Rabbeinu met his wife on a well also. So we see from here that there is different of our sages that met the wife on a well. After that, Avraham Avinu met with the Eliezer, the Eved Avraham, met with the family of Rivka. We know that he given him present, and he taken Rivka and returning back to Be'er Sheva. After that, the Torah tells us that in a journey, when Rivka Imenu saw Yitzhak Avinu davening the Tfilat Mincha, by the way, the Tfilat Mincha being constituted by Yitzhak Avinu, and so when he saw that, when she saw him, she fell off the camel. After that, we know that Yitzhak Avinu married Rivka Imenu, and in bringing her inside the tent of Sarah Imenu. That means, until then, Chazal tell us that when, as long as Sarah Imenu was alive, her candle was all the time lit. When Sarah Imenu died, the candle that was in her tent didn't burn off anymore. What happened when he brought Rivka Imenu, when Yitzhak Avinu married Rivka and he brought her inside the tent of Rivka, what happened? Chazal tell us something very interesting, that after that, the candle that was lit in that tent start to lit again. Okay, after that Avraham Avinu now know that Yitzhak is married. There is a problem. Why? Shelo yeh yehud. That mustn't be yehud. Yitzhak Avinu decide, the son Yitzhak decide that he's going to bring Hagar back. Hagar change her thing. That's what it's called ketorah. Hazal, some of the mefarshim say that ketorah is Hagar. Okay, after that, Avraham Avinu have children from ketorah. Ketorah, it's Hagar, he had a few more kids from her. In the year 2123 from the creation, Avraham Avinu died in the age of 175. Chazal tell us something very interesting, that as a matter of fact, Avraham Avinu was supposed to live to the age of 180, but he died 5 years earlier, as we see. Why is that? Chazal explained. HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't want Avraham Avinu to see that his grandson Esav become so wicked. Therefore, he shortened his life by 5 years. And now, Be'ezrat Hashem, that we done the introduction for the Parsha, we're going to start that we're going to start properly with the parsha. We're going to start at the beginning of the parsha. Mark, just unmute yourself, because I mute everyone because it was a bit of a noise. So just remember to unmute yourself. Okay. ויהיו חיי שרה 100 שנה ו20 שנה ו7 שנים, שני חיי שרה.
Sarah's lifetime was 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. The years of Sarah's life.
Okay. We see here that it starts ויהיו חיי שרה, and the life of Sarah was. What it means ויהיו חיי שרה? First of all, if you look, nowhere in the Torah tells us the life of one of our mothers like this, like he mentioned about Sarah. Why Dafka about Sarah was so special? So I'm going to bring a commentary. What does it mean, Vayihyu? We're going to do Gematria. We're going to explain that. What it means, Vayihyu Haye Sarah. And the life of Sarah was. We'll explain that. So there is a beautiful book. It's actually a midrash that's called Hiskuni. I don't know how many of you heard about it. Hiskuni is a midrash that's been written by Rabbi Hiskiah ben Manoach. Rabbi Hiskiah ben Manoach born 771 years ago in France. He was from the Rishonim. And he actually emphasized on a word, what it means, Vayu Haye Sarah. That means, how come that the Torah tells us, he put a lot of emphasis about it. What does it mean, Vayu Haye Sarah? And he said that he took those three words and he explained it. He said, first of all, let's understand something very important. Take the word Vayu. Gematria of Vayu, Vav is 6, Yud is 10, together 16. Then we have 5, then we have another 10, and then we have another 6. Together is 37. The gematria of the word Vayu is 37. And Hazal tell us something very important. Hazal say from the word Vayu, by the way, I saw that the same commentary brought by the Rosh, Rabbeinu Asher, that was also Rishon, brought by the book Torah Mima, saw it in a commentary of Torah Mima, and if I'm not mistaken, the Ramban, the Nachmanite, if I'm not mistaken, he also bringing it. And also, look, the connection here is by you is Gematria 37. We know that Sarah Imenu died at the age of 127. If you take 127 minus the 37, you'll get 90. What does it mean? Hazal says something very important, that the first 90 years of the life of Sarah, Haya, Sarah's life considered as a dead person. Not that she was alive. Physically, she was alive. There's no question about it. But she wasn't alive as a happy person. Hazal says something very interesting. Hazal say, guys, there is some noise at the back. I don't know who's talking, but there's some noise. So Hazal explained that the first 90 years of her life, she wasn't alive. She was not considered as a live person. So where did they come with that? Hazal explained in the Gemara in Masechet Nedarim, page 64, folio 2. Listen to that, what Hazal said. Mi she'en lo banim hashuv kemet. Say the Gemara that the person that doesn't have kids considers a dead person. Maybe physically is alive. Hazal there bring shlosha, there's 3 people, hashuvim kamet. There's 3 people that consider as a dead person. The first one, a person that doesn't have children, a woman that doesn't have kids. Second, it's a blind person, hasuma. And the third one, the third person is ani. Ani is a poor person. Those 3 consider as a dead person. So Hazal would come and tell us, we know that the first 90 years of Sarah Imenu, she was a barren, she didn't have kids. Sarah Imenu had Yitzhak Avinu in the age of 90. So say, the Rabbi Hiskiah ben Manoah, the Hitzkum. He said, you know when he became alive? You know when Sarah Imenu became alive? Only when she was in the age of 90. And the proof to it, if you take the word Vayu Chayei Sarah, and it was the life of Sarah, you know when Sarah became alive? What does it mean alive? That her neshama start opening, she was happy. You know when? In the age of 90. Hazal tell us that in the age of 90, only then Sarah start living. Until then, she maybe physically was alive, but spiritually, it was very difficult for her. Nachon that Sarah was a prophet, but until then, she didn't have this beautiful and happiness like every mother that have children. So that's what Hazal Vayu Chayei Sarah. Now we understand the first thing. But in the end of the verse, it says, Shnei Chayei Sarah, the two life of Sarah. Wait, you're telling me at the beginning, Vayu Chayei Sarah, understand, until the age of 90, she wasn't really alive, she wasn't really happy. So when she become happy, listen to that. Chazal said that only from the age of 90, we explained it. But now you tell me Shnei Chayei Sarah, two life of Sarah, we have to explain that. So let's look what Rashi HaKadosh said. Rashi HaKadosh, just to give you history about Rashi HaKadosh. Rashi HaKadosh born in a city of Troyes in the north of France, 981 years ago. And he said like this, Shnei Chayei Sarah, kulam shavim letova. That means both of the life of Sarah was good. Wait, but we explained a minute ago that it wasn't. Sarah actually lived a proper life that she enjoyed and she was happy since the day that Yitzhak Avinu born, and that was in the age of 90. So the majority of Sarah's life wasn't an easy life, let's call it this way, in a nice word. It was a difficult life. So how come that suddenly Rashi HaKadosh said, Kulam shavim letova? That means all he is equally for good. What's happening here? So to understand that, what Rashi said, I saw a beautiful commentary, but first I'm going to explain what the question is. Rabbi Ben Zion Mutzafi Shalita asked the question. I'm sure that in Sarah's life, we know that she didn't have an easy life. At the beginning of her life, after she married, they took a husband, the young husband, and they threw him to the furnace. We know that they threw him to the fire. Nimrod HaRasha. After that, if not enough, the command to leave Haran, and they have to leave Haran and start a journey to a land that they don't know. When they arrive in Eretz Israel, was a terrible famine, and they have to leave Eretz Israel and they're gone to Egypt. She'd been taken by Paro. Okay, if that's not enough, they gone back to Eretz Israel. Then when they gone to Eretz Grar, Avimelech took her. That means one chorus after another chorus after another chorus. She really didn't have a 1 minute peace. On top of all of that, we have to remember for 90 years of her life, Sarah Imenu was a barren. It wasn't easy for her. So how can you tell me, Rashi, kulam shavim letova? That means all her years, all 120 years was for good, equally for good. Shavim, it means equally good. So I saw a beautiful commentary that brought by Rav Ben Zion Mutzafi, because he asked the question, he explained it. And he said like this, that Sarah Imenu, although that she had difficult time in her life, most of the years she suffered, as we know, say Rabbi Ben Zion Mutzafi like this, that Sarah Imenu never complained. She justified all the time the sentence on her. Whatever came punishment, if you call it punishment, whatever you want to call it, she always accepted it. And she always said, and she never complained. Whatever come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, she accepts. It's everything for good. So it's come to tell you that Sarah Imenu when it was good and when it wasn't good, she accepted everything with love. That means even the difficult time that she had in life, at the beginning of her first 90 years, she didn't complain about it. That's mean that even those for her was a good life. So come and say, from here you're learning something very important. Hazal come and tell us that from here you learn something very interesting. What do you learn? You learn from here that Sarai Menu was all her life, even when it was good, even when it was difficult, okay, she never complained. That's mean that Sarai Menu all her life accepted the difficult time, and she never considered it as difficult time. And that's what Rashi tried to tell us. What did Rashi try to tell us? Kulam Shavim, all of those years equal. Even after she had Yitzhak Avinu, even after she was happy that now, at long last, after 90 years, she's not a barren anymore and she can hug her own child. And we see that that's, we'll learn just now that Sarai Menu have another child. We'll get to it when we'll bring in proof, okay? But the question is, how did Rashi say Kulam Shavim? The answer say Rabbi Ben Chafi that for Sarai Menu, even when life was difficult, she never complained. She looked at it as a life that she accepted. I don't think that she liked the difficulty, but she obviously didn't complain. And now we can understand why is it says Shne Chayei Sarah. So from here we can understand what Hazal tell us, that you see from here that we have something very interesting. We see that Sarah's life, okay, was all the time, even if it was difficult, even if it wasn't difficult, for her it was okay. Okay, let's move on to verse 3. Mark, don't forget to unmute yourself because you're muted. Okay, in verse 3, it says something very interesting. Look what it said. Vayakom Avraham me'al pene meto, vayidaber el benechet le'emor.
Abraham rose up from the presence of his dead and spoke to the children of Chet, saying.
Okay. So again, I have to explain something very important. The English translation, it's not what the Hebrew translation. For example, Vayakom Avraham me'al pene meto. That means that Avraham raised from the front of the face of his deceased, the face of his deceased. Okay, and then he going to speak to the children of Bnei Het, if you translate it word by word. And why am I saying it? Because now what we're going to learn, and there's a question that many of the Mefarshim ask, what's happening here? Avraham Avinu, you're the greatest man. You see that the deceased in the front of you, and you're leaving the deceased, and you decide to go to speak to Bnei Het. How can you leave the deceased? What's happening here? So I'm going to bring two different opinions. I'm going to bring the Sporno and I'm going to bring Rabbi Yonatan Eifshitz, two different. I'm going to bring the Pshat, how we're looking at on a Pshat, and then I'm going to bring a bit of depth into it. So the Sforno, Rabbi Ovadia Misforno. Rabbi Ovadia Misforno, born in the north of Italy in a city that's called Cesena. He born 551 years ago. We know that the Sforno, besides being a scholar person and wrote commentary on our Torah, he was in his profession, he was a doctor. In profession, he was a doctor. And on this parsha, on this word, he explained, how can it be, like the Mefarshim asked, that suddenly Avraham Avinu get up and left Sarai Menu and gone to speak to the children of Bnei Het. So say this Sforno, because he still didn't have the obligation of the law of mourning. Why? Because the law of mourning only starts from the moment that you bury the deceased. So here, Avraham Avinu didn't bury it because he gone to negotiate with who? With Ephron to find a grave to bury her. That's on a pshat of the dvarim, just to look at it on a pshat. But on the depths, now we're going to get to the depths. What does it say? If you look at the pasuk, Vayakom Avraham, Avraham raised me'al pene meto, from the face of his death. That means that Avraham looked at Sarai Imenu in the face and suddenly decided to raise and to go to speak to the children of Het. What's happening? So Rabbi Yonatan Eifshitz, born in the city of Krakow in Poland 331 years ago. And he, in his book, Ya'arot Vash, he wrote also another book that's called Ahavat Yonatan. But in his book, Ya'arot Vash, he explains something very interesting. And he said like this: if you look at the Midrashim, many of our sages in the Midrashim explains that only a person that died a kiss of death can bury in Ma'arat HaMachpelah. What does it mean? Lo aleinu, we know that there is the angel of death. And Chazal speak about it in a Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah, in page 20, folio 2. Chazal there explain that there is three drops in the sword of the angel of death, and a person when a person look at him, he die from one drop. From the other drop, it's what's happened to him, that his face change, and from the third drop, the body start decaying and gets smelly. That's the Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah, page 20, folio 2. But we have to understand what's happening. Avraham Avinu looked, the Torah tells us specifically, Vayakom Avraham me'al pnei meto. That means that Avraham, before he decided to go and negotiate with Ephron or with the children of Het, as Hazal, the Torah tells us, and later on with Ephron, what has he done? Before he going to buy the Ma'arat HaMachpelah, he looked at Sarai Imenu in the face. Why? Because he wanted to know, is Sarai Imenu are the right person to be buried in Ma'arat HaMachpelah or no? When he looked at his face and he saw that the face didn't change, what it means, Horiku Panav, Hazal say in the Gemara, that when a person, lo alenu, before he died, if he's not a righteous person, he look at Malach HaMavet and he gets scared. It's not the time to speak about it at night, but just for us to understand the Gemara, and the face changed. The color of his face changed, the face himself changed. So Avraham Avinu, before he gone to negotiate with the children in Het and Ephron, he looked at his wife's face, Sarai Imenu. When he saw that the face of Sarai Imenu didn't change, now he knew that she died the kiss of death. That means she entitled to be buried in Ma'arat HaMachpelah. What it means, the kiss of death? It's just for us to understand a bit that it's talking about one important thing. It's talking about that angel of death did not have a control. He could not take her soul. Who took her soul? It's only because the time reached and HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided. That means those people that die with this kind of a death, only them they can be buried in Ma'arat HaMachpelah. Avraham Avinu wanted to see if Sarai Imenu have the merit to be buried in Ma'arat HaMachpelah. When he saw that the face didn't change, he realized that she's just a righteous woman. Now I can bury you in Ma'arat HaMachpelah. In that case, now I can go and negotiate with the children of Het and Ephron. And that's why the Sforno explained, until he didn't bury her, the law, all the law of mourning didn't applicable to him. So now he gone, because in that considered as own name, what is he done? He gone and he spoke to the children of Het, and we know that it brought the Ma'arat HaMachpelah. And that's what it says, Vayakom Avraham me'al pnei meto. Now we can understand why the word face mentioning here in the pasuk. I know that in English it didn't mention that, but in English it said from the presence of his death. It didn't say, from the face of his death. But you have to be very, very specific. If you read a parsha, if you look at the word, to understand the words and to understand the sentence, you have to look every word properly and look at them in parsha. Let's move on now to verse 16. And here we say that we're going to speak about the 400 shekel that Avraham Avinu, in the end, given who? To Ephron Achiti. וישמע אברהם אל עפרון, וישקול אברהם לעפרון את הכסף אשר דיבר באוזני בני חת, 400 שקל כסף עובר לסוחר.
Avraham heeded Ephron, and Avraham weighed out to Ephron the price which he had mentioned in the hearing of the children of Chet, 400 silver shekels in negotiable currency.
We have to understand that the Torah tells us that Avraham Avinu paid 400 shekels. Okay, we understand. But the Torah adding one important word that we have to understand, negotiable currency. Why do you have to, if I pay you money, why do you have to add up that it's negotiable currency? That's the major key. Why do you have to tell us? And we have to understand what does it mean. First of all, let's start with Rashi. Rashi HaKadosh about these things say 400 shekel. Listen what Rashi says. שמתקבלים בשקל בכל מקום. That means Rashi bring the Gemara in Masechet Bechorot and Masechet Baba Metziah in page 87 folio 1, Masechet Bechorot 50 folio 1. Rashi says something very interesting. That this money actually can be traded anywhere. Just for us to understand, it's like the US dollar. US dollar, wherever you go in the world, it's a well currency. It's a well-known currency, and you can trade with that. If you take the Zimbabwe dollar, no one will negotiate with you. The Zimbabwe dollar doesn't have a value, you know what I'm saying? But here the Torah come and tell us specifically that it was a currency that you can trade with that anywhere. Why? Why is it so important? We have to understand. 400 shekel kesef over lasocher. So first of all, let's focus. What does it mean that you can trade with that money anywhere in the world? So to understand that, we have to bring the Rambam. The Rambam is Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, the Maimonite. He born in the city of Cordova in Spain, 887 years ago. And he say halakha, we have a law, listen to that. A person cannot do a business with a Gentile and given him or to sell him, listen to that, pieces of gold or silver and etc. Why? Why? Because what's hiding behind it? Chazal explained, if you sell them pieces of gold or silver or anything else, that you can trade with that. He might gonna melt the gold, the silver, the copper, whatever you want to call it, and he's gonna make from that the statues. So the Rambam paskin that we have a mitzvah from the Torah that a Jewish person, when he trade with a Gentile, cannot give him, okay, mineral gold or mineral silver. It doesn't go like this. Why? Because there is a hashash, there is a doubt that he might go and melt it and go and create, Chas v'shalom, one of the statues that he worshipped. That's Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, the Rambam. What is happening? Explain, the Mefarshim explain like this. Avraham Avinu was worried because he lived in a time that of paganism. People used to worship idols. Avraham Avinu was worried that God forbid, if he'll give a Ephron Hiti that wasn't Jewish, he was a Gentile, if he given him gold, silver, or any other kind of mineral, it might gonna make, there's a doubt that maybe Ephron gonna take that mineral and gonna melt it, and he's gonna make a statue for me. Therefore, Avraham Avinu wanted to make sure, listen to that, to make sure that there is not even a debate. He took money, took currency that can be traded anywhere in the world. And money that trade anywhere in the world, no one will take it and melt it and to make from it a statue. And that's why the Torah come to tell us. The Mefarshim explained that the Torah come to tell us that Avraham Avinu, when he done business, he was thinking about everything. When he was doing business, when he was going to buy even a grave to his wife, he was thinking about everything. God forbid that he give mineral to a non-Jewish guy. Because why? Because it's a negative command. And if it's a negative command, there's a problem with that. So that's regarding that 400 shekel kesef over lasocher. What it means over lasocher? That anywhere in the world they can trade with that. But now I promised at the beginning of the show, I explained the word 400. What is 400? Why Dafka 400? So I'm going to bring few opinion. I'm actually going to bring a number of opinion, and we'll go from there and we'll see that we're going to do Pshat, Remes, Drash, Shod on the number 400. Because the number 400 represent many different things. So Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim. Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim, born in Germany. He born 752 years ago. I explained before that he wrote all of his commentary on the written Torah in one night. His father was the Rosh. The Rosh is Rabbeinu Asher. And he said to him, "My son, you wrote commentary on Torah Shebe'al Peh and the oral Torah. When are you going to write a commentary on Torah Shebichtav?" And Chazal say, not Chazal, the story that our sages tell us, that he sat one night and he wrote all of his commentary on all the 5 books of Moses. That's Ruach HaKodesh. Obviously, without Ruach HaKodesh, you can't do that. And you have to have Ashba'at Kolmus. What the mystical rabbis say, that what is Ashba'at Kolmus? Kolmus is what the Sofer write with that, Sefer Torah, Tfilin, or Mezuzot. That's kind of in the olden days, or even today, the kolmus have to be a special thing that you have to dip it in ink. 771 years ago, they didn't have a computer that you can type. And to write a commentary on all the Torah in one night, you have to be a Ruach HaKodesh and Ashba'at Kolmus. Ashba'at Kolmus, that means that from heaven they helped him. That he didn't have to write it. He said the name of the Almighty, the holy name, and the pen wrote it by himself. Anyway, so Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim say, if you take the word Ephron that it's written, we see that some places the word Ephron, it's written like this. For example, in our verse, Ein Pei Resh Nun Sofit. That means that if you look the gematria of Ein Pei Resh Nun, it's 400. To tell us that, you know why Ephron asked for 400 shekel? Because that was the gematria of his name. That's according to the Pshat. Another idea that brought the Rabbi Yaakov Baal HaTurim, and he said that we know that Ephron have Ain Hara. What does it mean, Ain Hara? At the beginning, he promised Abraham everything for free. Take it. Take the land is yours, everything is yours. I'm not going to take any money from you, never. It's for you for free. The next thing, he changed his mind. Omer Arbe ve'oseh me'at, Chazal say. That means, היה לו עין הרע. He was stingy. Okay, he was a miser. So Chazal say on that, עין הרע, if you take ra ain, okay, it's 400, the same like his gematria. Ra ain and Ephron together, if you put them both, they equal to 400 in gematria. Another idea that Chazal bringing, and I'm going to bring few Gemarot, and I'm going to bring also what the Zohar explains, that the number 400 represent the evil forces. Listen to that, evil forces, 400. Where do we see it? The Zohar HaKadosh say that when Esav come to meet Yaakov Avinu, what happened? Vayavo Esav ve'arba'amot ish ito. We'll read about it. We'll see that when Esav comes to meet Yaakov Avinu, okay, I think that it's in Parashat Vayetze. What does it say there? No, Vayishlach, Parashat Vayishlach. There it says that Esav came with 400 men. The Zohar HaKadosh explained, you know, who was those 400 men that it's mentioned in the Torah? That was the 400 evil forces. Where do we learn that the number 400 also speak about evil forces? Okay, Chazal tell us something very interesting. Chazal tell us in the Gemara, in Masechet Menachot. The Gemara in Masechet Menachot tell us a story in page 44, folio 1. Listen to that beautiful story. The story tell us, I'm gonna say it in Hebrew, then I'll read it in English. מעשה באדם אחד, שהיה זהיר במצוות ציצית. שמע שיש זונה אחת בקרחי הים, שנוטלת 400 זוזים בשכרה. What does it mean? There's a story about a man that was very careful about the mitzvah of tzitzit. And he heard about a harlot that live across the sea, that she charged 400 zuz, again, the number 400, for her services. And Chazal tell us there that when he gone and he crossed the sea, when he arrived there, when he was ready to commit immorality, suddenly the wind come, and the string of the tzitzit hit his face. That's the, remember, Gemara, Masechet Menachot, page 44, folio 1. And he suddenly realized that, what am I doing? I'm committing a sin. He put his clothes up and he left. And this woman, the harlot, was so upset. She said to him, why did you find something wrong with me? He said, nothing wrong. I'm just not allowed to do it. This is a mitzvah. She said, where you are from? He said, I'm from Eretz Israel. And for many months, she was thinking about it, and she couldn't accept it. I'm telling you the story quickly. And she decided that she's going to go to Eretz Israel to find that man. And when she gone to Eretz Israel, before she left, the government took from her half of her wealth. That was the text. Anyway, she paid half of the tax. She gone to the Shiva of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and she said to him that she wanted to convert. After she converts, she said to him she wanted to find a husband. And who's the husband that he offered her? That man. What he was supposed, Has v'Shalom, to do it with a sin, now he done it when he married her, when she's allowed. So Chazal said that the number 400 again represent evil forces. Another story that Chazal bring about Hillel HaZaken. There's a story about Hillel HaZaken, it's a midrash, that Hillel HaZaken on Friday, just before Shabbos, he gone to the mikvah. And two people bet. If one person say, I will manage to antagonize Hillel. And every minute that he was watching Hillel, before he gone to the mikvah, he asked, who's Hillel here? So Hillel dress up and he said, yes, it's me. I want to ask you a question. He asked him a question. There, it's a long story. I'm just going to make it short. In the end, he saw that Hillel doesn't get crossed and doesn't get antagonized. What happened? He said to him, Shelo yirbu kamocha b'Yisrael. That means not many people will be like you. He said, why are you cursing me? I'll answer all your questions in patience. He said, because I lost 400 Jews. I have a bet with my friend that I will manage to antagonize you no matter what. And I see that I didn't. So I lost 400 Jews. Again, as I'll explain, from here you learn that the number 400 representing the evil forces. So what does it mean? That when Ephron HaHitti bought the Ma'arat HaMachpelah, it was that Avraham Abinu paid him 400. You know why Dafka 400? To take off all the evil forces from Ma'arat HaMachpelah. Beside that, the money that he given him, it was a special money that he can trade with it. But 400 to weakness all of those evil forces. And now we can understand what it says in the parasha. 400 shekel over l'socher. Let's move on. Now I'm going to move to chapter 24, verse 1. And listen to that. ואברהם זקן בא בימים, ואדוני בירך את אברהם בכל. What does it mean, בכל? בכבוד.
Now, Abraham was old, well on in years, and Hashem had blessed Abraham with everything.
What is everything? That's the question that all the Mefarshim ask. And Be'ezrat Hashem will try to explain what it means with everything. The Hatam Sofer, Rabbi Moshe Sofer, born in the city of Frankfurt in Germany 258 years ago. And he bring different ideas. He bring number one, he bring three different ideas. First of all, we'll bring what Rabbi Moshe Sofer said, the Hatam Sofer, and he said that number one, Bakol, that Avraham Avinu, first of all, whatever he had, he was happy with. That means he was have 10 rand, he was happy that he have 10. If his friend have 1,000,000 rand, he was happy that his friend have 1,000,000 rand. That means that Avraham happy with what he had. That's one, number one. Number two, that Avraham Avinu, Bakol, he was, everyone loved him. Everyone loved Avraham Avinu. He lived with peace and harmony, and he makes sure that everyone loved him. That's number two. Number three, that every person that have a problem, every person that needed help, Avraham Avinu used to help him. And not only used to help him, Avraham Avinu used to teach him Torah. That's the three ideas of the Hatam Sofer. But Hazal in the Gemara in Masechet Baba Batra, in page 16, listen to that, folio 2. There is a mahloket between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. What is the mahloket? The mahloket is, according to Rabbi Meir, Avraham Avinu didn't have a daughter. Rabbi Yehuda said that he have a daughter. And he said, you know what was her name? Bakol. That means that Avraham Avinu have a daughter and a son from Sarai Menu, like we explained at the beginning of the show. So why are we bringing it? Why is it so important? Why does that make a difference to us? Like we say, ma nafka mina. Well, what difference does it make to me if Avraham Avinu have a daughter or he didn't have a daughter? What is the mahloket there in the Gemara that Hazal arguing, did Avraham Avinu have a daughter or not? So there is in the Gemara in Masechet Mishnah Masechet Yevamot, chapter 6, Mishnah 6. There Hazal have a mahloket between Bet Hillel and Bet Shammai. When is a person fulfilled the first mitzvah of the Torah? The first mitzvah of the Torah is pru urvu. That means to multiply. According to Bet Shammai, when a person have a son and a daughter, he fulfilled that mitzvah. According to Bet Shammai, if he have only 2 sons. So vice versa, we know that Avraham Avinu have 2 sons. Why? Ishmael, our cousin, and his main son, the beloved son, Yitzhak Avinu. But if you look into Bet Hillel, where do we know that he have a daughter? So say Rabbi Yehuda in the Gemara, remember, that he did. Where did he did? From that it said, Hashem biricht Avraham bakol. HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed Avraham bakol. What was the name? Bakol. Avraham, the daughter of Avraham, called Bakol. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed Avraham with a daughter. That's me. Come the Mefarshim and say, from here you learn that when the Torah tells us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed Avraham with everything, what it means with everything? That he managed, number one, to have wealth. He managed to have everything that you want, include to fulfill the mitzvah of pru urvu. What is the mitzvah? That he have a son and a daughter. and both of them from Sarah Imenu. So from here we learn that Avraham Avinu and Sarah Imenu have both a child and a son. The child was Yitzhak, and the daughter was Bakol. Okay? But Hazal tell us that Bakol died on the same time as Sarah Imenu. When Sarah Imenu died, also her daughter Bakol died, and she and Avraham Avinu have to bury both of them. Okay, so now we see that's the Parsha. Let's move to the Haftarah. The Haftarah that we're going to read this week, the Haftarah is from the book of Melachim, Kings 1. In chapter 1, verse 1, it's going to start. Mark, are you going to the Haftarah? Okay.
I'm going there.
Okay.
I'll be
I'm
there
going to
in a
read
minute.
it. והמלך דוד זקן בא בימים, ויכסוהו בבגדים, ולא יחם לו.
King David was old, advanced in years. They covered him with garments, but he did not become warm.
Here we see something very interesting. What's happened here? When David HaMelech was old, they covered him with clothes, and the clothes wasn't good enough. And what happened? He couldn't get warm. What's happening here? We have to understand why is the Haftarah telling us that Avraham Avinu couldn't get warm and he was old. What's the story? So Hazal in the Gemara in Masechet Brachot in page 62, folio 2, explain that the matter of fact, there is here midah keneged midah, measure for measure. And we'll explain the measure for measure. The story goes like this. When Shaul HaMelech heard that David HaMelech become a king, he wanted to kill him. And for no reason. And he started to chase David HaMelech, and one time he almost caught him, Hazal said. What happened? He saw David HaMelech running into a cave. And he ran straight after him into the cave, and he looked in the cave and he couldn't see David HaMelech. What happened? It was a spider web, and David HaMelech penetrated through it. And immediately HaKadosh Baruch Hu make a miracle, and that spider webs come and got food. Shaul HaMelech said, if David HaMelech gone inside deep into, the spider web will be broken. It can't happen in 1 second that it's full. So what is he done? He needed to clean himself, and he put his own coat. David HaMelech came quietly and he cut piece of his coat to tell Shaul, listen, I could kill you. I didn't kill you because I don't want a war with you. I'm not against you. It's just that there's other people that entice you against me. But me, personally, I'm not against you. I don't know why you're chasing me. Why are you trying to fight with me? That's one explanation. Why did he cut the coat? Other explanation, more in the depths that I saw it, and I saw it that bringing it to Rabbi Chafi, and he said like this, that David HaMelech, by that he cut part of his coat of Shaul HaMelech, it's to tell him, Shaul, look, the job of the coat is to warm a human being. I know that you cross with me. Your blood is boiling with me. I'm cutting part of your coat to tell you, you must cool down. I've done nothing wrong to you. That means David HaMelech hinting to Shaul HaMelech. Hazal come and say, that was a measure for measure. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to David HaMelech, you didn't show gratitude to the clothes. When you're going to get old and you're going to dress with clothes and you're going to dress with a lot of clothes, you're not going to get warm. So say Hazal, that was measure for measure, because David HaMelech didn't show gratitude to his clothes. So come the Haftarah and teach us how much a person should show gratitude even to clothes. You know, many people come home, take the clothes, throw it on the floor. זה לא נכון. You mustn't do that. Put it inside the basket. After all you enjoyed from your clothes, you wear them all day, you got warmth with them, they give you pleasure, you look nice with them. You mustn't throw them on the floor. You must show gratitude. That's what the Haftarah come to teach us, to show gratitude. Now, that wasn't planned for the shiur, it's not part of the shiur. But why I spoke about the spider web. David HaMelech, before he ran, he said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he doesn't understand why he created spider and why he created stupidity in the world. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to teach him. The spider, you know why I created spider? It's to teach you that that's going to save your life. Stupidity, that when his son chased him and they wanted to kill him, okay, Avshalom, and also Shaul wanted to kill him, he reached to the city and he pretended himself like stupid. And he acted like stupid. And when they caught him, they said, that's not David HaMelech. David HaMelech, a king, doesn't behave like stupid. And then he said, David HaMelech said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, now I understand why did you created stupidity in the world, and why did you created spider in the world. So from here we understand, Rabotai, that everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu do, and everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu done, there is reason behind it. And Has v'Shalom, to doubt what HaKadosh Baruch Hu done, or what does he do, is it necessary, is it not necessary? We just have to appreciate whatever we get from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to show gratitude. Baruch Hashem, we have clothes. And that's what the message here in Haftarah, to teach us that you have clothes. HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving you clothes. Show gratitude. Show your thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Must not throw them on the floor. Must not treat them with not respect. That means whatever we have in this life have to be with respect. And that's the message of this Haftarah. So if you have any question, I'll try to answer. Bli neder. So if you have any question, please unmute yourself and I'll try to answer.
Hello, it's Anthony. How are you?
Anthony, Erev Tov, Shalom Aleichem. How are you? Baruch Hashem.
Right, thanks. Right, thanks. When you go to Ma'arat Machpelah today, the cave of the patriarchs, what can you see there when you go today? What can you see there if you visit there?
Yeah. So when you go to Ma'arat Machpelah, first of all, let me explain something. I've done a show about Ma'arat Machpelah. You see tombstone, okay? You see tombstone, okay? But I want to tell you, with those tombstone, what you see, that's not where our father buried. Our fathers buried much deeper down. Okay, so those tombstone right just represent where's the tombstone above, but it's very deep under. I spoke about it once in a show, it's going to take a long time. But what do you see? You see the tombstone of Avraham Avinu, Yitzhak Avinu, and Yaakov. And those tombstones, they're right on the top. When you walk in, after you climb all the stairs, okay, but right down, that's where the real grave. And who buried in Ma'arat Machpelah? Like this, Adam v'Chava, Avraham v'Sarah, Yitzhak v'Rivka, Yaakov v'Leah, and the head of Esav. You follow?
Yes. Okay. Thanks very much.
Pleasure. Bye. Any other question? Any other question?
Yes. Good evening, Rav David.
Hello, Jeffrey. How are you?
Thank God. How are you doing?
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. I missed you today at Mincha. Yes,
it was Yeshiva at home today.
Yeah, you told me all of this week you're not going to be. Yeah.
Yes. Rabbi, I'm struggling with an answer. Rashi turns around and says, both of her lives, kulam shlem, both her lives were good, before and after. After Chazal tell you that, well, she actually never complained. That they mean it. She never really complained, even though she had difficulties. But there's an occasion which I read, she did complain. She complained bitterly against Hagar, and she began to complain that Abraham should actually get her away, and she complained to him, and Abraham had to do what she wanted. Hashem told him, Abraham before, he must listen to his wife. So she did complain. So I tried to get my head around when Chazal says she never complained. Even in the difficulties, but she did complain in the difficulties. She complained to Abraham about it.
Okay,
So
very good question. Very, very good question. I try to answer. It's very good question. What she complained to Avraham Avinu, Jeffrey, she didn't complain about her problem. She complained to Avraham Avinu, listen, Avraham, my husband, you are having a child here that is a wild beast.
No, I don't know.
His name is Ishmael, Pere Adam, a wild human being. This wild human being, not only that he's wild, not only that he's trying to kill my son Yitzhak by shooting the bow and the arrow, he also now start to teaching my son idol worshiping. In that case, I don't want it. She didn't complain about her physical problem. She complained to Avraham Avinu, listen, do you want your son to be righteous, or has v'shalom, that your son gonna learn from that wild beast? So the complaint wasn't for her situation, if she suffered or not. She was worried about the education of her son. And Hazal said, wait, I don't understand, Sarai Menu, we don't understand you. You know that your son is Yitzhak Avinu, the righteous man, one of the forefathers. Why, instead of chasing Mr. Ishmael, Mr. Wild Beast, wild animal, let him live with Yitzhak, and he might influence him. Sarai Menu say, When you're living with wicked people, you only can learn from them. Sarah was so worried about the education of her son, that she was worried that he might going to be influenced by who? By Ishmael. So the first thing that she was worried, she wasn't worried about herself. She was worrying about the future of her son. And when it's come to the future of her son, there is nothing to debate. Immediately chase et ben ha'amazot. Immediately get rid of him. I don't want him here. What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu say? Kol asher tomar lecha Sarah, shema bekola. Whatever Sarah tell you, Avraham, listen to her. Why? Because here there is no personal feeling. Here there is only one thing, the education of the future father of the nation. And has v'shalom, if he gonna learn from that wild man. Pere Adam, yado b'kol v'yad kol bo. And we see it, wild beasts, you can't live with them, you can't be with them. So Sarai Menu didn't complain for her chores, for her problem that she had. She complained about the education, and she was worried about the education of their son.
Excellent answer, thank you. Very good answer.
I hope that answers your question.
It really does. It really does. The one thing also, perhaps, when they mean that all was good for Sarah Menu, for how both lives good, she was actually fulfilled. When she had a child, she was fulfilled as a woman. And when a woman, perhaps afterwards, that's why it was so good for her afterwards. The life didn't change that much. She still had the same trials and tribulations up to the end when she knew by Ruach HaKodesh, she knew about what's happening to Yitzchak. I mean, which was another issue. But the point is, she really had it tough. But as a woman, I think she was fulfilled. That she did her job for the Hashem and the future nation.
She done the job. You see, a beautiful job. That's why you see. That's why Hazal asked, where you see a nation that jump into the fire, into the furnace, dying for the sake of heaven, from where? From Yitzhak Avinu, from the Gvura of Yitzhak Avinu.
Yeah.
Who brought him? Last year we brought a beautiful question. Vayavo Avraham lispod lesara velivkota. Vayavo Avraham lispod lesara velivkota. Where did Avraham came from? Hazal asked. We know that Avraham came to eulogize for Sarah. Where does he come from? Vayavo Avraham. What do you mean? And Avraham came to eulogize. Where does he come from? It should say Avraham eulogized to Sarah. No, and Avraham came. Say Hazal, listen to that. I brought it last year in a show. I didn't bring it. I'm trying every year. I'm trying to bring a new idea in a show. Hazal is say like this. Avraham Avinu, when he came to eulogize to his wife, you know what the major point of his eulogy was? That she brought up a son that's willing to sacrifice his own soul for the sake of heaven. You follow? Okay, any other question about that? I hope that answers you, Jeffrey.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other question about that? Eitan, any question? You love to ask question. I love your question, Eitan. Bechavod.
Anthony. Hello, it's Anthony again.
Sure, Anthony. Bechavod, bechavod,
It
bechavod.
says, Avraham Zakain Ba'amim. Barach et Avraham Ba'kol. What does Ba B'yamim mean? Why does it say Ba B'yamim?
Baba Yamin, very good question. What it mean, Baba Yamin? And he came to his days, in Hebrew you translated, that Avraham Avinu, every day of Avraham Avinu was the same. That's mean Avraham Avinu, all of his life was doing mitzvot from the beginning of his life until the end of his life. That's mean Avraham Avinu fulfilled the potential of his life to his maximum. You understand? That he done mitzvot all of his life. You follow, Anthony? I hope I answer you. Okay, I don't know where's Anthony. Anthony disappeared. Rabotai, I would like to take the opportunity to wish you all.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much.
Pleasure. To wish you all Shabbat Shalom, and please God that we should all merit to see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will send us Mashiach Tzidkenu speedily in our days and build Bet HaMikdash in our days. Amen. Ken Yeh Ratzon. Have a good Shabbos, Be'ezrat Hashem. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Keep well, keep safe. That's the most important. And please God, we'll meet on this coming Sunday. In the meantime, Shabbat Shalom Umvorechet Lekulam. All the best.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Shkaya.
All the best.
Mark.
All the best.